Victor Wembanyama, this offseason, I said you had a chance to be a top 5 player in the league by the end of the season. I went to bat for you, saying that you could maybe even get MVP votes and take this leap in becoming one of the best players in the history of the sport. And my community wanted to kill me. They rebelled against me. And they said that I was glazing you. Can I be honest with you guys? I don't even know what glazing means. Is this just an Uncle Slightly moment? I don't understand it. I figure it has something to do with sex, but I'm not entirely sure I get it. Either way, I went to bat for Victor Wembanyama, and how do I get repaid? With a 52% true shooting percentage? And this utter woke nonsense shot chart from a 7'4" center? What is going on? We're going to get to the bottom of it. Is Victor Wembanyama cooked? Folks, if your only source of NBA news and information is the NBA Twitter page, you would think Victor Wembanyama is the greatest player to ever step on a basketball court because he does have highlights from time to time that make your jaw hit the floor. Like this play right here. A little up and under dunk from 10 feet away from the basket. Sure, why not? A step back 3 that spans the zip code of 5 separate states. Okay, yeah, I guess we're making that. A disgusting step back 3 over his fellow countryman, Rudy Gobert. Sure, I mean, we're 7'4", and I guess we're hitting that. Plays like these are what gets you really excited about Victor Wembanyama because it only takes watching one Spurs game to see the unbelievable amount of potential that Wemby has. But the reality of the situation is, offensively, it has still looked a little bit rough to start year number 2. In fact, it's a little bit more rough than I was hoping to see from Wemby this season. So I went back and I watched every single offensive possession from all 9 games Victor Wembanyama has played in so far this season, trying to figure out what the problem is. Is this just a shooting slump for Wemby? Is he still not processing the game fast enough? Is this a roster construction issue? Is it the guys alongside Victor Wembanyama that's making his life as difficult as possible? And I'm only talking about the offense here because Wemby still is an incredible defender. Has he taken the leap into becoming far and away the best defensive player in basketball like we all sort of expected? I don't think so just yet. There's still some flaws to his defensive game, like being out of position from time to time and relying on his length and his size a little too much, which can get you burned in the modern NBA, but he's still unquestionably very worse, a top 5 defensive player in basketball. I mean, it's incredible what he does defensively. This is strictly talking about his offensive game. And I mentioned some of the stats earlier. He currently has a 52% true shooting percentage. You look at the shot chart, I mean, this is just shocking. This is not the shot chart a 7'4" center should have. Way too perimeter oriented for a player who's just not playing well from the perimeter. Like, he's taken 138 total shots so far this season. 62% of those shots, 86 in total, have been either mid-range jumpers or threes. And he is shooting 24% on those shots. It would be one thing if he was making these, but the fact that his shooting is in this dire straits makes it a little more difficult of a pill to swallow. And in the 9 games total, he has shot above 50% from the field one singular time in 9 games from a 7'4" player. That's not really what you want to see. Let's start with the shot diet, which unquestionably could be improved. Now, there's some reasons for this that we'll get to later. There are some spacing problems with this San Antonio Spurs team. They have lineups that they deploy sometimes that include Jeremy Sohan, who's currently injured. Sohan's having a really great start to this season, I think, but his three-point shooting is still lagging behind all of his other skill sets, and teams are just comfortable putting their centers on Jeremy Sohan so that they can roam off and protect the paint on Wemby drives. And this means that they're putting their bigger, beefier, stronger fours on Victor Wembanyama. And at this stage in Wemby's career, he still needs to put on some muscle and some strength. That's going to come over time. That's not something that'll happen next month. That's not even something that'll happen next year. That's going to take years for Victor Wembanyama to develop the strength to muscle these guys out of the way. They also have lineups that include Keldon Johnson, who's also just tanked as a three-point shooter over the last 3 seasons of his career. He's been around a 32% three-point shooter in the last 3 seasons. And that can absolutely lead to some porous space. But Wemby also just loves shooting a 3. It's something that he wants to do. It's something the Spurs obviously want him to do. I think another reason is there are times when Wemby looks a little sluggish and it doesn't look like he wants to attack the paint and wants the burden that comes with that. And I've seen some Spurs fans suggest that Wemby might be battling an illness early in the season or even his allergies. I'm not sure if that's something that's a real thing, but okay. I mean, I'm willing to hear that out. But there are still some shots that Wemby just needs to axe immediately. I can live with the open 3. Right? Because he showed at times last season, especially over the back half of the season where he was around 40% on super high volume, that he can be a good three-point shooter. The touch is obviously there. The form looks good, right? And even his misses aren't like horrendously bad. So that'll come. Those three-point shooting numbers will increase for him over time. Shots like these need to go. A one dribble pull-up 20 feet away from the basket over Dylan Brooks. Why is that a shot we're taking? 6 seconds into the shot clock, we're shooting a 2-point jumper 1 foot inside of the 3-point line over Dillon Brooks. That's a terrible shot for anybody. I can somewhat live with this shot because it's a clear attempt to get a 2-for-1, but that is a difficult shot to hit over a guy like a Ivica Zubac. And you see plays like these, and it really starts to sink in why the efficiency numbers are where they are. But also, there's another reason why Wemby is settling for as many threes, and that's because the Spurs spacing is sometimes terrible, and teams are daring Victor Wembanyama to beat him with the 3-ball. He misses this 3 right here. This is a wide open look. He's going to shoot this 10 times out of 10. But if we go back and we look at what the defense looks like when he catches the ball, what are the other options here for Victor Wembanyama? You see to his left, he has Jeremy Sohan, who again cannot shoot a 3 to save his life, and his 3-point form looks just abysmally bad. And you have Keldon Johnson in the corner. So look at the defense, right? You have John Collins already in help at the elbow. You have Keontae George already in help on the block, and Keontae George is a low man. I mean, that's probably a recipe for disaster, but nonetheless, he's there. There's really no other option for Wemby here other than shooting this 3, and he does end up missing it. But that's, look at where the defense was set up because of the terrible spacing around him. And it's funny we talk about his pull-up jumpers because this is actually a possession where he probably should have shot it, right? Right here, he has so much space that he should have pulled up for a jumper, but he tries to take matters into his own hands. He picks up the ball 10 feet away from the basket, and Clingan makes a really good play on the basketball right there, blocking that shot. But look how disrespectful Clingan is to Keldon Johnson. I mean, Keldon Johnson pops out for a wide open 3 here. Nobody on the Portland Trailblazers gives a flying fuck. And Wemby now has defenders all around him, and Clingan's been one of the better shot blockers in the league so far, even as a rookie. Makes a really nice play on the ball right there. I think the Spurs are really missing a real legitimate perimeter scoring threat. Malachi Branham can be a guy like that sometimes. Julian Champagnie, somebody who can hit threes. I think Sohan's had a really, really good start to the season. And his 2-man game with Victor Wembanyama is something that is very, very interesting. They play off each other incredibly well. But they really miss a guy like Devin Vassell, who has yet to play in a game so far this season. And when he makes his return, I think that that's going to change the way defenses approach the San Antonio Spurs and will make life unquestionably easier on Victor Wembanyama. I also think another part of the problem is he doesn't really have a go-to move just yet. This is really problem number 1. He needs to be in the lab. All of the snatch back, hang, dribble, pull up threes, those are all sick looking. And when he does hit them, it's like, oh my fucking God, this guy can hit that. But what he really needs at his disposal is just a automatic 45% to 50% turnaround mid-range jumper or a hook shot that he can go to when he does have the ball 15 feet away from the basket and there is a smaller player on him and he can really take advantage of that. And we see flashes of that from time to time. Here he gets it on the low block against Gafford. Fade away, misses, but I like that shot quite a bit for him, right? It looks good out of his hands. That's what I'm saying. His form looks good on these jumpers. It's just a matter of them going in, and I just think he's off to a slow start shooting-wise, and these numbers will take up dramatically for him. But I like that shot quite a bit. Same thing here. Ball at the elbow, guarded by a smaller Dillon Brooks. Takes a couple of dribbles. Probably doesn't need to fade that far away from the basket, and part of that has to do with size. But you can see how if he develops this mid-range fadeaway jump shot, and it's something serious, it could open up quite a bit for his game. This time he gets the ball in the middle of the floor against Quentin Grimes. I mean, this is a huge size advantage for Wemby, right? There's no way Grimes is contesting him on that shot. That's a beautiful looking jumper. Gets the ball down low here against Dillon Brooks. Now I think people see this and they want Wemby just to back him down under the basket. But the reality is that's not who Wemby is as a player currently. And that's probably never who he's going to be. And I mean, this is a very tough shot for a right-handed shooter going to their right like this. That is a tough pull-up. So developing fadeaway shots like this is important. That's a really nice ball fake. You see the footwork, you see the touch. It's all there. He's just never going to be a guy that backs guys down under the basket, at least not yet. So if you get him the ball in the middle of the floor and he can make moves like these, little hesitation into a fade right there over Dillon Brooks. But he can guard that. There's not a player in the league who can actually contest that. Amen Thompson is a tremendous defender with a lot of size and a lot of length, right? And if defenses are going to put guys like that on Victor Wembanyama in an effort to sort of bully ball him a little bit, he has to take advantage with his size and get looks like this. I would also love to see him develop a hook shot like this. I just haven't seen much of it yet, right? That's a good look right there. With his size, a hook shot like that is pretty much unguardable, but the touch hasn't really been there yet on those, so I don't know how likely it is that those will come into his game. But a game that he can reliably go to 10 or 15 feet away from the basket is going to be so important for him because you see how much defenses hone in on preventing him from getting the ball anywhere close to the basket because it's pretty much automatic when he gets the ball down there. We mentioned at the top the huge percentage of shots that he shoots, how far away they are from the basket. But when he does shoot the ball within the restricted area or in the paint, it is pretty much automatic. He's 77% in the restricted area. And this is why he wants his three-pointer to be a thing, right? Because he gets Jock Landale up a little bit on that fake. and he can drive and use his size at the rim. And there's not a single thing that Jock Landale can do about that. And part of this is also up to the Spurs. They need to do a better job running sets that give Victor Wembanyama the ball in an advantageous position, right, close to the basket, on the block, 7, 8 feet away from the basket, early in the shot clock, rather than him getting pushed out, getting the ball 15, 20 feet away from the basket, shot clock winding down, and now it's perimeter time. This is smart offense by the Spurs, right? Jock Landale is guarding Blake Wesley. Amin Thompson, the two biggest guys on the court, is guarding Mamu. Mamu cuts out to the perimeter. So now Wemby gets the ball on the block against Dillon Brooks. And the low man to help is Fred VanVleet. That's a murder. Victor Wembanyama can go baseline here against Dillon Brooks, and there's nobody there to help whatsoever. Those are the type of looks that they need to get more often. If opposing defenses are going to put their center on guys like Harrison Barnes and Keldon Johnson and Jeremy Sohan, this is how the Spurs need to make them pay, okay? With those guys initiating offense at the top of the key, so the help is so far away from the basket, the big is so far away from the basket, I guess I should say. Mamu comes to set a pin down. Scoot Henderson is guarding him. So immediately, Wemby curls off of the screen, and it is bad news bears for the Blazers. Jeremy Grant is trying to recover, and there's nothing you can do with Wemby's size to protect against that right there. And one dunk. Hey, Chris Paul's been teaching him some things. This is the patented Chris Paul little half spin right here. Oh, that's a beautiful move. You see plays like that, and that is the potential. That's the upside right there. I mean, that's an incredible move on the baseline to send Naz Reid flying in the other direction. Get him the ball early. Luka's guarding Wemby. Luka wants no part of this. The Mavs scram switch, but it's a little bit too late. Wemby gets it, goes immediately. Gafford's not fully in position yet, and he draws the foul. That's just hilarious. Luka wanted absolutely no part of this at all. And at your size, sometimes you're going to get makes, even on great defense. This is great defense by Derek Lively. Great defense. There's no help baseline, so Wemby spins and just uses that absurd length. I mean, that's an incredible finish. Great defense by Lively. More great footwork here by Wemby. A little flex screen here in the corner by Chris Paul allows Victor Wembanyama to get into the paint, catch the ball with his feet already wide, which allows him to explode off of that pivot foot, finish with his left hand before Gobert can get there to help. And when he gets you on a step through, there's really nothing you can do. At that size, you're pretty much going to have to foul him because he can just extend the ball out so far. And Victor Wembanyama fouls him. Şengün fouls him. Everyone's fouling him. This little Rockets-Spurs rivalry they have going on here to start the season. Okay, the Spurs have played 9 games. 3 of them have been against the Rockets. A third of the Spurs games have been against Houston. This rivalry is fun. They get feisty. They get chippy. Jeremy Sohan's talking shit. I love it. I love a little rivalry like this, and you could see it whenever these two teams play. And Victor Wembanyama, he gets going during rivalry. But I think Wemby's game needs to be more focused on being inside out versus outside in, which is what it is right now. Because one of the key skills that Wemby has, one of the things that makes him so intriguing as this player who could blossom into a potential all-time great, is his feel for the game, is his playmaking. Right, his passing is pretty great for a guy his size, his feel for the game. And you feel that more whenever he's posting up, whenever defenses are overloading, whenever guys are coming to double team, and Wemby can pass out of that. That just looks like such good offense. And Wemby, more often than not, makes the right reads on some of these plays. And there's still stuff that he needs to work on, and we'll get to that in a bit. But him focusing more on his interior game is going to help tremendously in that regard. I like this play right here, a little re-entry into Wemby. He's guarded by Reed Shepherd. This is a murder. Okay, Jock Landale has to come in to help. Great cut by Stephen. Oh, my God, Castle. Castle's having a tremendous rookie season as well. These two are going to be very fun to watch for a long time. That's the type of play I'm talking about. Double, great cut by Castle. Pass out of that double team. You can see everything. You can see over everybody. You're 7'4". Look at this pass. And unfortunately, this is a turnover for Wemby, but it really shouldn't be. Chris Paul, how are you going to sell him out like that? Look at him apologize. Wemby's like, fuck you, dude. What's going on my stat sheet? This is going to be in an NBA Muse post later. All about making the right read once you get downhill. Don't jump, Johnny Juzang. God, the Jazz are absolutely terrible. Good read, good kick out. Chris Paul 3. Yeah, the Jazz are horrible. Again, you're 7'4". You see anything. You get the ball on the elbow right here. Walker Kessler comes to double team. That's a terrible double team. Wemby could see it coming a mile away. Really smart cut right there. Leads to a lob for Mamu. There goes that man. Again, I mentioned this Sohan-Wemby two-man game. I like it quite a bit. One will set one screen for the other and vice versa. They both operate as the roll man and the pick-and-roll ball handler. But that's good chemistry right there between those two. Just immediately read what Sohan's defender is doing. Easy lob right there. Beautiful anticipation. This is a pretty advanced pass right here. Fred VanVleet guarding Victor Wembanyama. Şengün has to come and help. Means it's 3-on-2 on the other end of the floor. Smart cut by Branham. Opens up this pass to Branham. No, Branham wasn't cutting for Branham. I accidentally called Blake Wesley Branham. Okay, but Brandon open for three. Great skip pass by Wemby. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, wow, this is the first play we've seen from this Thunder game. Yeah, there's a reason for that, okay? But either way, Chet gets up in the air. Wemby attacks downhill. You're going to draw on so much defense once Wemby gets a step and gets going downhill. You just got to make the right read off of that. Here we go. This face-up game, again, it's going to be important. James Harden, there's no way James Harden can guard you. James Harden's a good post defender. We've known that, but no way he can guard you. You go baseline. Zubac has to help off of Sohan, and there's an easy dump off right there. These two play off of each other really, really well. I don't know, because of Sohan's broke three-point shot, what the future holds between those two, but they're going to have to make it work because I do think that these two play off each other tremendously. This feels more like a defensive miscommunication here by the Timberwolves. Naz Reid comes out to help. I think he's expecting Jaden McDaniels to get out, but he doesn't. Wemby reads that. Keldon Johnson open in the corner. His first and only three this season, believe it. That's not true, but it really feels like it. This is one of my favorite plays. This is really pretty offense right here. Okay, Wemby with a touch pass to Harrison Barnes leads to a lob. Why do I love this play so much? Because traditionally, you would see this and you'd think, Wemby, why in the fuck are you not just immediately attacking James Harden on this pass, right? But what he sees is Zubac creeping in to help, which means Zubac's feet are not ready to get out to Harrison Barnes, which means wild closeout, which means Zubac is up in the air, which means Harrison Barnes is driving. James Harden has to help. Easy lob to Victor Wembanyama. That's great work between those two. That's not to say that it's all good for Wemby on the playmaking front, because so far this season, it has not been. Okay, he's averaging 2.7 assists per game. That is a full assist less than he averaged over the course of the season last year, and he's averaging 3.5 turnovers per game. Damn near doubling up his assist number. That's not what you want to see at all. So while there are flashes of Wemby being a really solid playmaker, there's still some decision-making issues that he needs to iron out. And there's still times where the game feels incredibly fast for him. And he needs to understand, you are 7'4". Okay, there's not a lot of players in the league who even have a chance at guarding you. Sometimes it's okay to slow the game down just a tiny bit. You don't need to be constantly moving. You don't need to be doing spin move after spin move after spin move. Just relax just a tiny bit and take better care of the ball. You have to know if you're getting the ball here on the elbow, you're probably going to see help. And this is just weird, wonky ass spacing, but you can't be this loose with the ball knowing that defenders are around you. That's an easy steal for Scoot Henderson. And by and large, I think Wemby does a pretty good job reading the defense from time to time, but a play like this right here, he sees Sohan's open and he knows Sohan's not a great shooter, but Gobert is not biting on this pass fake. Okay. He will live with Sohan taking a shot. You have four guys around you. Four guys around you. We got to kick this thing out. Pass this out to Sohan and live to see another day. If Sohan bricks a three, so be it. It's better than whatever this was. And sometimes it's just so frantic. Spin move after spin move after spin move. And defenses are really starting to hone in on this. Cam Whitmore almost gets a steal on this first spin. Then you spin again, this time right into Tari Eason's waiting arms. That's an easy steal. Tari Eason said, come to mama. I've been waiting on this one. Sometimes it's just about making a better pass. Again, we talk about this two-man game. Sohan rolls. Is that there? Maybe if the pass is better. If the pass is a little bit higher, you probably do have Şengün beat, but that is just an abysmal pass. I mean, just not accurate. Sometimes it's not about turnovers, but the plays you don't make. Brandon's going to slip this screen. He's open in the middle of the floor. You got to make that pass right there. Sure, it might be a little bit difficult with a taller Drew Eubanks there, but you're 7'4". That's a pass that you can absolutely make. And yes, there's help ready to come in, so you're probably not going to get this layup, but we can at least find Mamu. There goes that man in the corner. And even though he's not the greatest three-point shooter, you live with that shot instead of this one by Wemby. Let's call a spade a spade. Victor Wembanyama is a clip farmer through and through. He clip farms. This behind the back dribble pickup 10 feet away from the basket. I don't know what his plan was, even if that ball does not get stolen by A.J. Mitchell. Nice play. That's fucking annoying, by the way, that A.J. Mitchell looks to be a very serviceable NBA player in his first year. I hate the Oklahoma City Thunder. I have nothing to say about this. It's not even horrendous offense. I just had to throw this clip in there. Put some respect on my boy Derek Lively. That's clamps. Okay? That is clamps. Wemby doesn't read the full floor this play, and it's the right idea. Okay? Sohan comes off of a screen. If this is what you see, right, you're reading Jalen Williams, you think Sohan is there for the lob. The problem is Wemby didn't really read this side of the floor. It's a good play by the Thunder defensively. Okay, because you see a switch right here. Chet and Cason Wallace means that Chet can stay the low man guarding the guy in the corner. And he's ready for this lob attempt. And Wemby just doesn't see it at all. And it's an easy still for Victor Wembanyama. I'm sorry, for Chet Holmgren on Victor Wembanyama. I feel a play like this, there's really no reason for you to pass this ball so quickly. Okay, you're getting the ball on the block. Jabari Smith Jr., yeah, he's taller, but you still have a size advantage right here. Just wait for Keldon Johnson to clear out, and you have the side of the floor to yourself. There's no reason to pass out of that. This is similar to that steal that Scoot Henderson got. You just got to know where you are on the floor. If you have the ball at the elbow, you have to know there's going to be guys coming in to help, right? Because you are 7'4". You're going to see help. You're going to get digs on the ball. You just have to be more careful and just have your head on a swivel a little bit more there, allowing Mike Conley just to reach in and get the easiest steal of his career. And I'm saving this turnover for last. What was he thinking? I'm telling you, he's a clip farmer. It's like, I'm sorry. I was laughing so hard when I saw this play. What was the, all right, he's up there somewhere. Fuck it. I'm throwing that thing up there. Oh, man. He's a funny guy. So as you can see, it's been a little bit of a mixed bag for Victor Wembanyama so far to start this season. There's a couple of different reasons why. The roster construction around him, sure, it could use some help, right? He could use some help in the form of some guys on the perimeter who can actually create their own offense, who can punish defenses for mismatches or for, wild closeouts when they're open, on kickouts, whatever the case may be. Yes, that all is true. A couple of things. Wemby's definitely in a shooting slump. Okay, there's no two ways around that. His shooting numbers will tick up. Do you want him to shoot less threes and get inside a little bit more? Yes, of course, you want him to do that. But it's very clear that as of right now, he wants a perimeter-oriented game. And these things are going to take time. Okay, the thing that I think is a little bit more concerning for me is that I thought the game would look a little bit slower for Wemby in year two. And so far, that hasn't really been the case. The game can look a little bit fast for him still at times offensively, as we've seen with some of these turnovers that we just watched. Those are really the things you see when guys take leaps forward. Sure, efficiency is going to get better. Guys are going to develop new go-to moves, whatever the case may be. But really, the game starts to slow down year over year. And that's when guys take the leaps. That's when guys go from, good rookies to stars, right? And that hasn't really been there just yet for Wemby. I also just feel like the Spurs need to figure out ways to get him going downhill more pick and rolls, right? He hasn't been a great screener so far in his career. And I think a lot of that just has to do with the want to. He has to want to be a great screener. That's going to open up so many things in the pick and roll, whether that's Chris Paul, whether that's Trey Jones whenever he comes back from injury, whether that's Jeremy Sohan whenever he comes back from injury, giving you passes, going downhill. You're going to attract so much attention defensively that you're going to be able to make plays out of that, whether that's assisting or setting up your teammates, getting the defense in rotation, or just finishing at the rim. And another thing that I think needs to happen sooner rather than later, he has to become an absolute nightmare in transition, right? He kind of is already, the idea of him. But statistically, we need to look at stats at the end of the season and say, oh my God, you see how many fucking points per possession Victor Wembanyama was averaging in transition? He is a freak when he gets out into the open floor. He's not the most explosive athlete, right? But at his size, he doesn't need to be. When he gets going downhill, he's so lengthy, he's so long that there's just nothing a defense can do to stop you when you already have a runway to the rim. So the Spurs are getting out in transition more when he's on the court than versus when he's off by a huge number, right? And that needs to remain the trend, okay? And it needs to be less settling for trail threes in transition and more, I'm attacking the rim. You're either going to have to foul me, you're going to have to send 2 guys, 3 guys in to help, and I can kick out, or I'm going to finish at the rim. So what is the takeaway here? Is Victor Wembanyama in some trouble? Is he not going to reach the ceiling we might have thought for him? It's way too early to come away with that conclusion. I do think, though, that this idea that maybe he could take an MVP leap, or maybe he can win Most Improved Player, I don't know if we're going to see that this season. I haven't seen the steps and the progress that I was kind of hoping for. I was hoping for a go-to inside scoring move that he kind of developed and worked on over the summer. We haven't fully seen that just yet. I was kind of hoping to see the game slow down for him a little bit. We haven't fully seen that just yet. But remember, last year, it wasn't until Christmas time that he completely turned it on and was a demon from then on out. So maybe Victor Wembanyama is just one of these slower start guys. And that's maybe what we need to look at him as moving forward. Either way, the three-point shooting will trend up. I think the offense will open up more for him when Devin Vassell's back in the lineup. And I would not be surprised at all if we're looking back on this in January and February, Victor Wembanyama's in the All-Star game, and we were like, oh yeah, it was stupid to worry about a guy like this early. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. This video took me a long time, so if you don't mind liking, leaving a comment, sharing it. Can you share it with your grandma? Is that too much to ask for, guys? I feel like grandmas secretly love basketball, right? And they need to learn more about it, all right? So don't be afraid to share this with Graham. She would love that. She would love to hear from you. She would. So go ahead and reach out to her. I love you guys. Bye-bye.